Thanks for staying with us. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says the country will save $4.8 million from the gold for oil policy. According to him, the policy, which is now in its third month, is already yielding a positive impact and is expected to cause a reduction in prices of petroleum products at the pumps from March 16 this year. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at the commissioning of the new head office for the bulk oil storage and transportation company here in Accra.
It's mandated to build a strategic reserve of stocks of petroleum products to meet a minimum of 6 weeks of national consumption from the gold for oil policy. Vice President Dr. Bawumia said the policy is on course to achieve its overall objective of reducing the prices of fuel and easing the pressure on the country's forex reserve.
The savings in foreign exchange when we do this will be an annual saving of around $4.8 billion US dollars every year when we get this done. And that means that the oil importing companies, the BDCs, will not be going to the Bank of Ghana and looking for $4.8 billion to buy oil. We will buy that oil with that gold with our cedis, convert it into the oil payment, and therefore that demand will no longer be there. We have to understand the prices of fuel will go up and will come down. But what we expect to see under the gold for oil policy is more stability in the pricing and also savings in foreign exchange.
Dr. Bawumia also projected a further fall in fuel prices going forward.
I've been told that next week we are likely to see fuel prices fall again as a result of this policy. Next week, it's not actually, Professor has just said, it's not that far, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we will see the decline in prices that we are expecting. I mean, this is remarkable. 2.5 months ago, you were at 23 cedis per liter. Today, you are at 12 cedis and falling. That is a good point.
Ghana has received 2 consignments under the gold for oil policy, which began this year.
Now, an economist has described February inflation decline as impressive, but rules out assertions it has peaked. Inflation for the month of February slowed down to 52.8% from 53.6% in January. The reduction is as a result of the drop in cost of transportation and other non-food items. Speaking on the marketplace, research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Buti, said the current trend does not mean we are out of the woods yet.
We are not having as much pressure from export prices, and in particular CD, even though not exactly stable, have behaved within a certain range so far this year, which meant that the depreciation problem is not so much pronounced, and we are seeing all of it in part reflect on relatively stable transport fares, stable fuel prices at the pumps, and relatively stable prices on the market compared to what we've seen in previous months and weeks, really. And I think these are the things setting inflation on that downward trend. I wouldn't say we have reached a peak yet, because some of these revenue interventions could have lagged in part. Maybe that could run over the next 2-3 months, especially for the February data window, which did not reflect all of these interventions, really. I would be cautious to say we've reached a peak. You want to observe the trend over the next 2 and 3 months to see the clear trend that is emerging. Then we can conclude on whether 54.1 was the peak point of this wild inflation run. Because if you argue from the arguments I've advanced so far that inflation decline could have been faster than we've seen, the 80 basis point we've seen in February, but for some of these revenue measures, really. And until we incorporate their full impact and lag impact, really, you might not see very sharp declines in inflation. I understand there is a base pull effect and it will get stronger as we go on, but we have to see the effect of these revenue measures actually fully reflect, and then you can begin to see the full impact of some of those base drifts. And going forward, hinging on the IMF, if the CD gains more stability and then oil market behaves the way it ought to behave going forward, with all of the interventions coming from within and without, really, then we could begin to see sharper inflation going forward. But the trend seems to be positive now, and it can only get stronger as the effect of the revenue measures that we've seen reflect in February decay.
Away from that, government may have to consider to use local materials as well as local contractors in its quest to reduce the cost of constructing railway in the country. According to Deputy Minister for Railways Development, Kweku Asante-Boateng, there are about 4,000 kilometers of railway projects to be completed across the country with limited resources. He was speaking at the stakeholder workshop for the new railway master plan. Here's more.
The country's new railway master plan has identified some 4,000 kilometers of railway that need to be constructed in order to reduce pressure on the roads. Speaking at the workshop on the new railway master plan, Deputy Minister for Railway Development, Kweku Asante-Boateng, bemoans the challenges of funding and how government could fall on local materials.
Manufacture our own slippers in order to reduce cost and the margin of importing or a third party supplying us with that. So we can take some materials or some components of the construction on board locally, so that what will be left is what we don't do here, which are the trucks itself, made of steel. You get it? And when it comes to construction, we can even say that where we don't have the technical expertise will be maybe laying the track itself. But the formation and everything, we can contract some local contractors who are competent to do certain things for us, rather to award the contract en bloc that maybe a foreign contractor, be it a Mandi, Afcons, or somebody, is doing everything entirely.
Chief Executive for the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Yao Owusu, explains the need for the review in the master plan.
Well, the master plan is a dynamic tool that we are using. Like the Deputy Minister said, as time goes on, we need to go back to revisit to see if we are in line with the national agenda. And basically also in terms of how much resources we have to be able to complete the line. So it's something that every 5 years we are going to review the master plan to ensure that we have the capacity and the resources to complete the lines.
It is projected that the country will need about $30 billion as capital requirement to develop rail network in Ghana.
Now, senior partner of auditing firm KPMG, Anthony Sapong, has advised financial institutions to minimize cost to avoid the negative impact of current economic conditions on their operations following the completion of the domestic debt exchange program. He's also urging them to stick to good corporate governance principles. Here's more.
The financial sector in Ghana goes through challenges whenever the economy becomes unfriendly to businesses. According to senior partner for KPMG, Anthony Sapong, good corporate governance structures will strengthen the operations of banks to stay afloat after the successful completion of the domestic debt exchange program and other government policies.
So collapse of businesses and institutions continue to happen throughout history, today and also into the future. What is important is that for all collapses, we all learn from it. One is in terms of appropriate governance structures. Normally, when you have governance structures, they help you to be able to avoid or notify early pitfalls. The second is risk management, or in simple terms, not punching above your weight. There are sometimes businesses fail because they take on more than they can cover. And therefore, if you stay within your limit and your strength, you will again be able to weather the storm. And then the third one is always keeping your good resources and making sure that they act properly.
Mr. Sapong spoke to Joy Business after receiving the honors for KPMG's contribution towards the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic was such an attack on both the country and world level, which impacted the survival of humanity and each individual and families. And for us as KPMG, we will always believe in giving back to society and actually leading in times of crisis and difficulties. And therefore, we put in a lot of sacrifices, volunteered people to make sure that the structures that were put together by the state and private sector we supported them to make sure that we deliver at least relief to Ghanaians. And for this reason, this award that the President and the nation is offering to KPMG, first and foremost, we are very grateful and thankful that the President and the nation is recognizing the sacrifices that we made.
The award ceremony was to celebrate the achievements and sacrifices made by some personalities to fight COVID-19 and Ghana winning the maritime dispute at The Hague. Chief Executive of the Multimedia Group, Kwesi Chum, also received an award for his contribution towards the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
We take a look at some other stories now. And Managing Director of Welma Africa Limited, Kwame Riafe, is calling for an expedition in the processes of the declaration of the Consumer Protection Law to safeguard the rights of consumers. According to him, more consultation is needed among stakeholders to fast-track the process. Speaking at the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana's breakfast panel discussion, in line with the World Consumer Rights Day, he encouraged players within the space to protect consumers.
Event, Kwame Riafe questioned the effectiveness of processes involved in preventing substandard products. He, however, said lack of defined guarantees within the space is hurting operation.
There is lack of defined consumer guarantees in Ghana. So if you are a consumer and you go and buy a product and the product is defective, what do? There are no defined guarantees as to what you do. If you are lucky and the product you bought is from an established company like Nestle or Unilever, you may have some cause of redress. You could approach these companies, and I know that some of these established companies inherently, for business sustenance and continuity and to protect their credibility, would come to your aid and meet your, try to address the need.
President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Daniel Kasati, entreated businesses to prioritize the needs and customers.
The success of businesses depend on prioritizing the needs and interests of their consumers and engaging in ethical and responsible practices. The right to satisfaction, as endorsed by the UN, demands that people have access to basic goods and services. Adequate food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, electricity, water, clean air, fresh water, unpolluted rivers, undegraded lands and forests.
The World Consumer Rights Day is an annual event celebrated to raise awareness about consumer rights and needs.
Now, Bono Regional Minister Justina Owusu-Banahene says the uncertain future facing the youth, especially girls, could be mitigated if they are taken through entrepreneurial-focused programs while in school. Speaking at the climax of Bono Change Makers, aimed at changing the mindset of young schoolgirls to be innovative and entrepreneurial, the minister urged the over 2,000 trained youth to take advantage of the opportunity to contribute meaningfully towards the development of Ghana.
Changemakers initiative spearheaded by Inspinest with Civil Connections and SDG World aimed to change the mindset of young females in the region to be innovative and entrepreneurial to help address gender equality. Girls drawn from Our Lady of Providence Girls, Notre Dame Girls and Basic, Sewakesi Girls and Bishop Owusu Girls schools have been trained and have also impacted over 2,000 girls in an entrepreneurial hub in the schools. At the climax of the one-year project on the theme, Bridging the Gap Between the Entrepreneurial World and the Mindset of the Young Girls, the head of operations and co-founder of Inspinest, Emil Pearson, said they empower the girls to create jobs by solving problems around them.
They thought, oh, I'm a girl in Bono region, I cannot do anything. It's not for me. But now these girls, they want to change the whole world. So we even now need to limit them to say, you can change your society around you. And what we try to do is give them ownership. We only support, we inspire them so that they inspire others. In there you see 30 girls from each school who has trained hundreds of other girls in their school. The problem is that they will graduate, but we have put a system in the schools now so that the senior years girls will train the younger ones so that they take over. And we are not training anything Western. I have not brought something smart. They are challenged to look around themselves, find challenges, find issues, solve them. If you solve issues, you create jobs.
Bono Regional Minister Justin Osu-Banahini urged the girls to take advantage of the training to be well equipped with innovations to face the uncertain future.
Today's students face an uncertain future full of complex global, social and environmental issues. Entrepreneurship-focused programs teach students crucial life skills that will help them navigate this uncertain future. Entrepreneurship training also encourages creativity, innovation, and collaboration. These attributes will help our girls develop leadership skills, embrace their competitive side, and learn to take more risks. It is therefore my hope that our girls will take advantage of this unique opportunity provided by the Inspirness Foundation and make the most out of it to become the change makers that you are.
Some of the girls offered some advice to their peers.
After school, it's not easy for you to get a job. You have to start something, small business. We start everything from the root, then we get to the top. Being an entrepreneur, it will help you start with small businesses, selling, creating things, and being innovative. So I think they have to grab this opportunity.
Don't sit there and say there are no jobs, okay? Just look for something local and do and get a means of survival.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyai.
Now, described as the fisherman's companion, canoe building for fishing may be a strenuous job, but a profitable business venture for some fisher folks. As part of our Ghana Month celebration, James Ishen has been exploring the traditional wood carving for fishing in Brewa in the central region of Ghana.
Perhaps it could be best described as the fisherman's biggest companion, the canoe or fishing boat. The scene looked like a seaport without the sea or a canoe landing bay, except that the sea was not close by. Shreds of the carved wood had combined with grass to give the canoe shop a carpet. Different canoes at different stage of construction. It's a canoe building site. Owning a canoe in a coastal town is a big deal and could cost you a fortune. Averagely, getting a canoe, an outboard motor, and a fishing net could also cost one more than 100,000 Ghana cedis. In Brewa, a coastal community near Cape Coast in the central region of Ghana, some young men in their mid-20s were sawing wood with their pencils in their hair, measuring, cutting, fixing and nailing. There I met Wisdom and his colleagues. Wisdom has been building canoes for more than a decade, and together with his colleagues, they're able to produce between 10 to 15 canoes in 8 weeks.
Chairman, good afternoon.
Afternoon, boss.
How are you doing?
Very great.
I've been observing you for some time now. What's happening here?
I just want to dress the canoe to make it that, and when you put the net inside, it's not maybe tilt, and make it smooth.
Wow. Now, I would want to get personal bit with you. For how long have you been doing this?
Maybe 15 years now.
Did you start at a very young age, or you were schooling and then?
I just completed SHS. Then after SHS, there's financial problems, so I just want to stop it. So that when I learn it, I should take care of my family.
But where do you get the wood from?
We get it from maybe Sefiu or so, Fosu and other cities there.
And how tedious is it going for this wood? Are you the one procuring for this wood, or have other guys who do that?
We have somebody go and bring it, and we also just want to dress it. When someone come and buy it, and we are here, we just do it for them.
Right. Let's have a sit and have some more conversation with respect to how the whole process is done. So when someone does it and bring it to you here, for how long would it take for you to have a single canoe?
Maybe it takes maybe 4 days, 5 days. Then we just completed it.
Just one?
Yeah.
That is 4 to 5 days.
5 days.
Depending on the site,
building a canoe would cost between 2,000 and 3,000 Ghana cedis. This does not include the cost of wood. Work on the canoe begins when a client, usually a fisherman, contracts masters of the trade for a canoe. Sometimes, the customers provide their raw material, basically wood, for the work to be done. At other times, and vice versa. Eventually, after 2 weeks of hard manual labor, they intend to finish work on an average size canoe for an eager client.
It costs maybe the small size costs maybe 12,000, 15,000, and it's over.
You mean cities?
Yeah, in cities.
And do we have the locals buying or other foreign guys also coming to buy?
Oh, the local ones, and then the foreign ones also come and buy the same.
As per newly released data by Future Market Insights, the fishing tourism sector is estimated at $78.5 billion in 2022 and is projected to reach $254.9 billion this year.
Maybe as for us, when you bring them here, there's no people come and maybe come and sack you or so. As we are, it's our handicraft, so we did it here. Nobody come and worry on us.
I've been engaging those selling wood for some time now, and they tell me due to the current economic conditions, they were not even getting, wood to sell. That is some parts of Accra. You are also using wood to carve your canoe. How are they giving you the same excuse? Because according to some of them, I understand that because of the transportation of cocoa from the hinterlands to this place, it becomes a problem. But from your perspective, is it that tedious for you to get that wawa or from any other part of the country?
Well, as for us, it won't take much time for us. Well, maybe at least 2 months, 3 months. You see, those people who go and borrow it here. If this place is full, they take it to another town. So, like wawa, then we do. We didn't use any only with the wawa that we used on the sea. If we can use sapali and all that, it will sink. So we don't use any type of only wawa that we use it here.
A whole log is slashed into 2 or more depending on the size of canoe to be made. The hull of the canoe is usually carved out of a slashed log. This forms the base of the canoe and will determine the size of the canoe. Small logs are bent with great artistry and skill, ensuring the wood is bent and not broken. The bent logs are then nailed one after the other on the hull, gradually giving the canoe the height it should have. Wawa wood is what I use for making the canoe. This is because it would make sure the canoe does not sink. It forms the base of the canoe and would determine the size. Wisdom had a dream to become a military personnel, but later resorted to building canoes.
And now my mind is a soldier. Because at that time now I was SHS no. Man call cadet. Now my father knew a soldier. It is sometimes we to find the call camp. My
aim was to join the military, but that didn't work out. I was a bit stubborn at a point. My father threatened to arrest me because of what I do. So I fled to Togo. Things were hard when I returned, so I was working for a construction company.
Construction work plan or semi-force and
And that's how we end business tonight. For more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Beverly Broohm. Next.